people will defend their weak spaces. And I had become more of an expert in my husband's weaknesses than his strengths. I am not tired of growing with him. I am not tired of even arguing with him, because even when we fight for. We don't fight against.
So many women have been hurt by really sucky men that have abused them or taken control over them or whatever, to where they can't even fathom the word submission.
Submission does not mean that the woman is less. Submission means that the woman is necessary.
What is up, happy and healthy, and welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Janine Amapola Ward. Happy Tuesday if you guys are listening on a Tuesday. Y'all, I'm in a good freaking mood. I'm not gonna lie. Yesterday was one of the scariest days of my life. I'm just being dramatic, but it really was. It was pretty scary. Texas had these insane storms, and it was like sirens were going off. 80-mile-per-hour winds. I thought my house was going to blow away. It was gnarly. We lost power for a full 2 days, or I think about like a little more than a day and a half. And it was crazy. It was really, really scary, and everything's good. But I wasn't able to film anything because we had no power. And so we're back, baby. Thankfully, I'm okay. My family's okay. I'm praying that everyone else is safe out there and that you guys are okay, because I know that we are in some crazy, crazy times right now. But anyway, so I wanted to give you guys just some quick updates. First of all, thank you guys so much for just sharing the last week's episode. It apparently resonated with a lot of you, and I'm really glad. We talked about waiting on God's perfect timing and how difficult it is and how to avoid bad decisions, all the things. So y'all, thank you for sharing that episode. I did want to let you guys know my book has been out for about 2 months now. If you guys don't know, I feel like everybody knows, okay? But it is called Becoming Happy and Healthy. It's real life advice on dating, career, friendship, and everything else you care about. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to win a signed copy from yours truly. So all you have to do to win a signed copy, I'm going to be picking 3 winners. I will be shipping these out myself, signing these for you. All you have to do is repost one of your favorite episodes from my podcast on your Instagram story, tag me, tag the podcast, and then just say why you love the episode and let me know that this is you entering in the giveaway. Put it at the top like, hey, this is my entering into win a book, and just tag me and tag the podcast and share your favorite episode, and I will be picking 3 of you, and next week's episode, I will be announcing who the winners are. I'm super excited, but I would love to sign these, write your name personally. And maybe it could also be, if you're giving it to a friend, let me know. I can write their name. So we'll be contacting you guys very, very soon. I will be picking the winners on Instagram and then letting you guys know also just the winners on the next episode. And you guys can I'll just reach out to you via Instagram as well. So I'm super excited. I have not done any giveaways, which I think is actually criminal. I should have gone straight to jail for that. I definitely want to do more on my Instagram as well. But I'm excited for you guys to have an opportunity to win this book and also gift it to maybe a friend if that's what you like to do. Maybe you are a nice, generous person. So you guys, hello, welcome back to the podcast. I won't make this intro extremely long. I'm in a better mood. Like I said, after we got through the whole storm situation, I kind of let you guys know I was in a slump for 2 weeks. And I shared a lot about what was going on in the past episode, but I really, really went into it on our Patreon. We do Kaleb and I post 2 extra episodes every single month. It is our link down below. It's our little community. So definitely feel free to check that out. We post, like I said, 2 extra podcasts on there, and we really do let you guys in more on our feelings, what we're going through. We're way more candid on there, so go check it out. It is linked down below. Today's episode is with a guest, and she is a powerhouse of a woman. If you don't know who Lisa Bevere is, girl, you about to find out who she is. She is the best. I've known her for a very long time. It's actually funny. I met her through an ex 5 years ago, and I'm like, okay, if God did anything, he introduced me to Lisa Bevere. She has blessed me. Her husband has blessed me. Her whole family has blessed me. I've had on her daughter-in-laws on the podcast in the past, and we do talk about marriage. And so I know Maybe you guys think that we're doing too many relationships advice or whatever, but I just think that this one's going to help you overall. Even if you are engaged, if you are married, if you're looking for someone to date, if you're single, this relationship podcast or this marriage episode is for you. She brings down the house. She brings wisdom on making your marriages last. You know, what should you be looking for? Submission in a wife. I mean, just listen to it and share it if it blesses you, because Lisa Bevere is someone you want to gain wisdom from. She's incredible. And we did film this when we were back in Nashville. And we just waited to space this out because, again, I wanted to take your feedback. So we are just now finally posting this, but the advice is still just as applicable in any timing that we post this. And so I pray this is a blessing. If you do find this amazing, please share it. If not, that's okay too. Just consume it. Let it bless you. And it's an amazing episode. So let's just get right into it. I hope you guys enjoy, and I think you guys are going to freaking love today's guest, Lisa Bevere. Lisa Bevere, oh my gosh. Thank you for coming on Happy and Healthy. How are you today?
I am doing so great. My team was like, hey, do you want to be on this? I said, yes, I want to be on this podcast.
I'm so honored.
So glad it worked out.
Well, it's so fun having you on here because I knew you years ago. I wasn't even podcasting yet at the time, was really struggling with my faith at that time. And meeting you, you've been an inspiration to me for so long. And truly, like, I love every message you preach. And I feel like you and I have a little bit of a similar story, just kind of with faith and stuff. And so just want to say thank you for coming on. It's an honor. And
is there a better powerhouse duo than her and John Bevere?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I just don't know if there's another couple who is doing what you guys are doing, but also are some of the best communicators together.
Thank you.
And
yeah,
it's really
individually, you guys like both are so gifted at speaking, and then together it's like the Holy Spirit just like floods the room. I saw you recently at, where was it?
Portland.
Portland, yes.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, I mean, someone told me, they were like, hey, I really think that you need to go. They prophetically said that they thought there was something there for my future marriage. And we weren't even married yet. We were engaged. And he was like, do you really think you need to go? Like, it's a last minute trip. Tickets are expensive.
Dude.
Well, his discernment, he was like, I don't think you should go. And I was like, no, I think I need to go. And I got to listen to you and John speak, and I really got to see what it looks like to have two powerful people that are on fire for the Lord work together for the kingdom. And I was like, Kaleb, like that's going to be us. So
yeah,
that was a blessing.
I do believe that's actually what John and I want to model. Like John and I have seen a lot of couples where the woman is just dynamic and the husband, he's supportive, and that's beautiful. And then we've seen the man is super dynamic and the wife is super supportive, but we felt like God said, I want both of you. I want two people with one heart. And that was something that takes some iron sharpening iron. We've had when you have intense people, you have intense fights, but we also believed it was better to model it doing it together than to do it separate.
So good.
Yeah, it's really hard. If I've seen couples, if the man is more outspoken than the woman, or the woman is way more outspoken than the man, it creates an interesting, relationship between the two. And with Janine, it was something that, from like a man's perspective, I was like, man, this is my dream. I'm with a girl who's writing a book. She has a podcast. Like, it takes a special man to be with a woman like you, who is like super passionate. And it's so cool that you have a guy, you have a husband who is only going to lift you up and
not suppress you.
Yeah, not suppress you. So that's really,
and
really
do
cool.
You guys know that I actually was very shy?
Wow.
I lost
I've never guessed that.
Yeah, I lost an eye to cancer when I was 5.
Really?
So this eye is plastic. I never ever wanted to be in public. I never wanted to be on a stage. And my husband was a youth pastor. And he said, Lisa, you do not have the right to be comfortable and to be quiet and to be hidden when all of these young girls need someone older to look up to. And I said, I am not some package deal. Like, you do not get to make me get up and speak. I am your one-eyed wife. And he was like, he said, I'm going to call you tonight, and you need to be ready. And I remember, this is back when microphones were like attached to cords. And so I was like in the back of the room, and John called me to the front, and he said, I want you to share with the girls. And, I think I got it for like 3 minutes and said something and got in the car and like fussed at him the whole way home. Don't you ever post on a mail? Like, thinking, I am not doing that. And John just said to me, you know what you sound like? I was like, no. He said, you sound like Satan. I'm like, Satan?
Wow.
Satan. He said, you say, I will and I won't. He said, somewhere along the line, you forgot you were bought with a price. And he said, you do not have the right to be quiet when so many people are hurting, Lisa. And it actually really marked my life. I remember at the time I thought, don't you talk to me like I'm a congregation. I'm your wife. You need to feel sorry for me. But John is the one that said, no, there's a gift of God on your life. And we believe. And, you know, I feel like too many couples don't understand a win for you is a win for your wife.
I say this all the time.
And a win for your wife is a win for, like, so marriage is two people committed to bringing out the best in one another. And too many people think it's a competition. But it's two people, and you know, and it's a dance. I mean, you know, there's been seasons of our life where John, I was home and with the kids and feeding the kids and very much in the background, but that didn't mean I wasn't very much involved. I was very much there. He knew his kids were safe. He knew, you know, that they were being raised up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. But then there came a time, and I remember it was actually, you said you're from Oklahoma. I remember I went to hear John, and he was speaking in Tulsa at the Maybe Center. And I came along with him. He asked me to come. And there was a mother, like a spiritual mother, like I would be to you, a woman that was older than me. And I think John made me get up again, I think, and share for like 5 minutes. And she looked at me and she said, I'm going to tell you something. She said, it's your time. And she said, I know you're more comfortable being a mom. I know you're more comfortable being hidden. But God is saying it's time for you to actually find your voice and speak to the women. And I was like, okay, when a mother says this time is time, I'm just gonna do that. But you know, back then it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Back then, you know, it was a different story.
That's so true. I mean, nowadays, everyone has a platform, everyone has a voice, everyone has something, and it's just like, okay, how are you going to use it? And so it's cool to see that you paved the way for so many women, because women are kind of taught, like, be quiet, be submissive, and I want to talk about submission here in a little bit. But, you know, as a woman, that I wanted to do that. I wanted to speak. I wanted to write. I wanted to use my voice. I didn't know how to. And I really feel like you were the person that I was like, oh, women can preach. Women can teach. Women can be on stages. And so I just want to say thank you for leading a generation, because you really did. So thank you.
Listen, with fear and trembling, but I am so glad, because I watched this generation do with ease the things that we did with struggle. And it actually makes me happy. Like, I have always said, okay, this next generation is going to go further and farther. And so you don't need to fight the same battles I fought. You'll have your own. And so I love seeing young couples. And again, I mean, God loves marriage. Marriage is not a power struggle. Marriage is a power union. And most people do not understand that God puts two people together that are different. See, God wants us to be one, but he doesn't want us to be same. And I think sometimes we try to change our mate into us, when really we need to say, I want to celebrate you. I think John and I were married about, I want to say 4 years, when there was a real turning point. So I was working full time as a television producer. And John was like seeking God and praying and maybe working half-time. And we'd had our first baby. And I was so critical of my husband. I mean, I was like, hey, you know, you're not doing this enough. You're not doing that enough. Why does the garbage go out? Why isn't this going out? I was earning
right now.
I was I think, no, but, and I want to talk about that. That's not unusual. And so I remember John would say things like, you just need to break. And I'd be like, buddy, you better hope I don't break, because if I break, everything's falling apart, because I'm making all the money and I'm doing all this. And one night I was in the shower and I was just trying to relax. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, you don't think John is a good head of the household, do you? And I thought, no, I don't at all. He said, you think you can do it better? And I said, I can do it better. He said, it's a yoke to you, Lisa, but it's a mantle to John. Throw it off your shoulders.
Wow.
And I was like, if I throw it off my shoulders, the baby's never getting to daycare on time. The diapers aren't, you know, and he said to me, all your husband's known as a mother. And you're treating him like he's a little boy. You need to learn how to draw out the man.
Wow.
And I had like this replay in my mind of all the times I thought I had been so funny and so whatever at my husband's expense. And I broke down and I started crying because this was me.
How early on to marriage was this?
Fourth year.
Fourth year. Okay.
Fourth year. Like, so
We got 3 more years to go, babe.
No,
Before
no.
the-
See, you can learn from my
This is why we have
mistakes.
you on.
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
learn.
I'm fast
so
tracking you
funny.
guys. Anyway, I remember John. If we were praying together, I'd be like, "Don't hold my hand so tight. Why do you have to be so loud?" And then I'd be like, "Why don't you want to pray with me?" And, and like he felt like he had a critic the whole time.
Oh,
So
wow.
I remember I came out of the shower that night and I said, "John, I will quit my job tomorrow. I just want to be one again." He said, "I don't think you need to quit your job, but I do think you need to quit thinking you're the source." And I think that we can actually work full time and have a revelation that God is our source and we'll have peace. Or we can stay home and think we're the source and be stressed out. And I watched my husband go from a boy to a man when I stopped being his mother and I started to be his wife and really speak confidence into him. Because it's scary right now actually to be a man.
It is so scary.
And I feel right now, like I love women, but I have raised 4 sons and I have learned, but I have learned that men are quite possibly under attack in a way that nobody understands. And God is the one who created woman as an answer to a man feeling alone and isolated. And right now, women are trying to act like men are trying to act like women. And God is like, this is not how I set it up. I need men to be men. I need women to be women. And when women act like men are alone again. So we need the women to remember that God created them to be an answer and that together, male and female, have a wholeness and a strength. And I would even say authority. Because John and I, we were speaking to one another like we were enemies.
Wow.
Instead of we were allies.
Shout out to Claritin for supporting this episode and providing us with samples. So if you guys are like me and when allergy season comes around, it is your worst nightmare. My nose is itchy, my throat is itchy, my eyes cannot stop watering. It is literally the worst. But luckily for those of us who live with the symptoms of allergies, we can live Claritin Clear with Claritin D. It's amazing and designed for serious allergy sufferers. Claritin D has 2 powerful ingredients in just 1 pill that relieves your allergy symptoms and decongest your nose so you can breathe better. This double action combination of prescription strength allergy medicine and the best decongestant available relieves sneezing, a runny nose, itchy and watery eyes, and itchy nose and throat and sinus congestion and pressures with ease. So if you guys are ready to live life as if you don't have allergies, it's time to live Claritin Clear. Trust me, you guys, I take it and I can just have a way better day. I can breathe better. Seriously, it's amazing. And it's fast and powerful relief. Ask for Claritin D at your local pharmacy counter. You don't even need a prescription. Go to Claritin.com right now for a discount so you can live Claritin Clear. Use as directed.
Like what's one thing you love about your husband? Like what's your favorite strength about him?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to begin because he's so amazing. I mean, really, like the way he just takes care of things and like his leadership, honestly. He negotiates, he fights for us. He not fights with me, but fights for us. The way he communicates to people, I'm just like, I just can trust him. I can pass things off and be like, Caleb's
he adds
got it.
value to people right away.
Yeah.
Like I met him for the first time.
Yeah.
And you could see right away that he actually sees you and is intentional to add value to you as soon as he meets you.
He does.
So that's a gift on your
you,
life.
guys.
He's blushing over here.
No, that's a gift on your life, and
Thank
that's
you.
great. And then what do you see as her greatest strength?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, she's beautiful.
This is marriage
I
counseling.
yes,
I
yes.
love
I can
it.
just like, I wake up every morning and I'm like, goodness gracious, I can't believe this is my life. I would say she cares about people more than I do, and it challenges my walk with the Lord every single day. I wake up, I see her in the Word every morning. In the Word. I hate reading. I can't stand reading.
John hates reading.
Oh my, I can't.
John
I
hates reading.
hate
You're not
it.
alone,
So
baby.
do you feel better? Do you feel better? John hates reading.
Yeah.
Reading's my favorite thing. John hates reading.
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
And
so he listens to audio a lot.
Same.
And he
Audio
should Bible
Bibles.
app.
But like we're on the airplane today, and she's opening up the Word, and she's talking to the person next to us.
Yeah.
I have my AirPods in. I'm listening to the Wall Street Journal, trying to know about our stocks for the day to make sure we can get our kids through college. And she's just like, that spirit rubs off on me in a way where I desire to be more like Jesus, but I also It really does impact my life, and it strengthens me and it sharpens me. And she challenges me. I relate to what you kind of said about John, and you know, challenging him or like always kind of nitpick, but she does it in a way where she sees the best in me, and she really does go, here's what you're doing now, but this is why you could be better.
Well, and I do think, and I always joke around. I say, like, I was dating John and he was amazing. It's going to be amazing. And then I get married to him and I'm like, okay, buddy, I see you here.
Yeah.
And you're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this, I need to nag this gap. Like
Yeah.
we need to close this gap. And I was at first I was gentle, and then I wasn't. And what happened was, people will defend their weak spaces, and I had become more of an expert in my husband's weaknesses than his strengths. And so we can do that if we don't constantly remember the why. And what I've learned is I have a different need from John than he has from me. Like, and this is going to sound like John probably should be here defending himself, but but John would come home from meetings and he would be like, oh my gosh, and this happened and this happened and this happened, and I'd be like, you need to change some diapers. And the truth is, John didn't really care about what happened in the meetings. He cared about how I saw him, and I didn't celebrate him because I thought if I keep him humble, then I don't have to worry about him going off and being a crazy person someday. So when he comes home, he drops the man of God thing, and he becomes like a real person in this house. And I forgot he didn't care about anybody else clapping.
It's so funny.
He only cared about me.
It's so funny you say that.
That's so real.
Yeah.
I was on a run yesterday, and I called Janine mid-run. We just got this big deal that came through, and I negotiated. I've been working on it for the past month.
Super happy.
I called Janine, and I'm like, hey, this is what happened. This is what happened. And she goes, okay, cool, I got to go. And she hung up the phone. So I called my mom.
I was in the middle of a meeting,
of all. So guess what I did? I called my mom.
And then your mom was
He's like, I need another
My
woman.
mom championed me for
Go, baby.
an hour. And I was like, but deep down I was like, dang, I wanted that. Like,
But see, and I'm going to take her place here. She already knew you could do that. So she's like, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that. I saw that. You totally are that. But I've learned that my husband, his love language, words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. Service, quality time. Like, you spend time with me, you look me in the eyes, we have a deep, meaningful connection on something, or we clean out the garage together. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. We created a project together, and my husband and he's still, I mean, we've been married, I'm trying to think, 42 years this year. Is that crazy?
Congrats.
42.
Actually, my parents have been married that long.
82?
No, my parents
82?
have been married 43 years, I think. Yeah.
Okay, my parents got married.
So you got
we
married at 1 year
82.
old.
No.
You're so young.
I'm 64 this year, and John's 65.
Oh my gosh, you
this
look
year.
amazing.
Is
I
that
need your
crazy?
We need
skincare
a
secrets.
skincare.
You do not.
That's still my
you guys
joke.
no, you guys are beautiful. You will be so much better. But I had to learn, okay, it's not hard to tell John, you're amazing. And I remember it was really awkward when we first started it, because John would say, it really, I don't want to tell you what to do, but it really means a lot to me when you say this. And so I remember, like, he'd be like, what do you, and John's colorblind.
He is?
Yes. So
didn't know that.
we'd have almost like granimals. Like every packing trip, he'd have to be like, does this go with this? And I'd be like, no,
Oh my
that does
gosh.
not go. And I'd be like, does this go with this? Yes, you can wear those. And then he would try his outfits on and be like, what do you think? Like, what do you think? I'd be like, yeah, it looks nice. And he'd be like, no, well, what do you think? I said it looks nice. But what he wanted me to say was, oh my gosh.
You look hot.
You
You're
look so amazing.
so
Take off all
hot,
your
yeah.
clothes right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like he wanted me to go over the top.
Yeah,
with
they
it.
want them to be like on the moon.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I was like, I already told you. So then I started having fun with it. Then in front of my boys, I'd be at the dinner table. So my 4 boys are sitting there, and I'd be like, boys, look at your dad. I cannot even believe he gets better looking every single year. I don't know how I've been pregnant 18 times. My boys are like, Mom, you guys are gross. But they were lying, because when Addison got married, he brought Juliana to me. And Addison's my oldest son. And he said, tell her the thing. I said, what thing? He's like, the thing, like where you compliment me in front of other people.
That's
so
I thought He
funny.
said that was awkward. He goes, yes, it was awkward, but it also made us feel secure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because he knew his parents loved each other, wanted each other, celebrated each other. And John has always done that for me. My husband had always done that for me. So I don't know why I withheld it from him for
So good.
for like 8 years.
I love it. So yeah, we're mainly talking about marriage here, and I do have a question for
What
you.
an intro, first of all.
But I first
What an
want to
intro.
ask, because you guys have a really cool story.
Yeah.
I want to hear if you could share with the listeners that maybe
Yeah.
don't know your marriage story, you and John,
Yeah.
and how you kind of came to the Lord, because he
Yeah.
really led you to the Lord.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was a complete heathen. I was born and raised in West Lafayette, Indiana. I went to the University of Arizona because it is one of the top
Wow.
party schools.
Yeah.
So I picked it for suntanning and partying. And I had my freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. And by the end of my junior year, I thought, who am I? Like, I don't even like myself. I was in a sorority. I was popular, but I had become everything I despised. I was shallow. I was promiscuous. I was mean. Like, I didn't even, like, know when that happened. And I was driving home between my junior and senior year in my car alone. And I had been so busy being around people or being drunk. So now I'm alone in my car with myself. And I'm like, I don't like you. And I was trying to stay awake because I was driving all the way through. And I was singing at the top of my lungs, AC/DC, I'm on the highway to hell. And I thought, yes, you are. You are on the way to hell. And I thought, I don't know how to find God. I don't know how to find him. And I came home to my parents' house, and my parents, they were married, divorced, remarried, divorced again. Our household, I didn't even know there was such a thing as happy households. I'd never seen my parents kiss, be affectionate. So the tension, and when you're in it all the time, you're just used to it. But when you go away and then you come back in, you're like, y'all are crazy. So I moved into the college dorm at Purdue, and I met John at breakfast. And he came over, and I guess I was cussing. I was talking about driving my car into a ditch the night before, and he was like, she's on another planet. So he just kind of like walked away. But he noticed that I wasn't taking any dairy products. And he noticed I was pouring orange juice on my cereal. So he was like, why are you doing that? I said, oh, I have lactose intolerance. I can't have dairy products. So then he would come through the line and be like, get that, get that. And he would take it off my tray, sit with me, but he'd eat all my food. So I, again, was just continuing with my completely carnal conversations. And but again, I was just feeling so empty. And I came up to somebody and I said, don't you ever wonder if there's something more? And they said, well, you seem pretty happy. And I said, I'm not. And they said, well, that guy that you always cuss in front of, he leads an all-campus Bible study. And I'm like, what? Oh, no. I don't want him to think I'm a bad person.
So,
Which I
did
was.
you have a crush on
I've
him?
been caught.
Did you
I
have
was
a
totally, pardon?
Did you have a crush on him?
No, not at all.
not at all.
No, I didn't even like. No, not even.
Wow,
did not even.
that's mean.
No, he was the skinny little tennis player, and I was like dating rugby players. So I was
Yeah.
like,
I'm dead.
he was like a little.
Yeah.
Like he's cute.
He was
yeah.
adorable.
Yeah, he was cute, and he was colorblind. No,
Oh,
gotta also
no.
and he was an engineering major.
Those are red flags.
There was a
Are
lot
you
of
sure?
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there was
Really?
there was like he said. So anyway, I came up to him one day and I said, "Hey, I hear you're like the big Christian on campus. I think my mom might be in a cult." He was like, "What?" And I said, "Well, my mom thinks that she's like healed." So my mom got healed of cancer,
Wow.
breast cancer. I mean, she got breast cancer in her late 40s, and she lived in her 80s. And I said, and she like listened to these crazy preachers, and you know, and I was Catholic. You know, we're all quiet. And so he was like, if you really want to talk about this, you can call me after 4th of July.
My man John, let's
Yeah,
go.
and I was like, I'm not going to call you skinny little player. So I did not
Tennis boy.
call him.
Yeah.
He called me, and he said, I want to invite you to this Bible study picnic. And I think I just heard free food. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought, well, I'll go. To
Like,
the
is there
picnic.
wine there?
Yeah, no, and I thought then I'll go out afterwards and just get drunk. And so I go and I realize it's a date. And I'm here and there's all these Christians, and after we eat, they're all in a circle, they're singing songs and they're putting their hands up. And I'm like, do they have a question? Like, what is going on? Like, why do they have hands up? No, it was seriously, it
That's
was
so funny.
We had little song sheets, and I was so uncomfortable. I just looked down at the song sheet and I read this line. It was from a song called "The Robes of Righteousness," and it says that when God looked at me, he would not see me, he would see Jesus. And I realized I was covered in sin and shame. And I look at John, I said, is this true? And he said, what true? I said, is this true that God could ever look at me and not see my sin? And John was like, yeah. But John had been a good boy. I mean, he was like, well, I got drunk one time. I'm like, that just
That's
means you
Kaleb.
can't. Yeah, I was like, that just means.
Sweet,
Yeah.
so innocent. I was like, that was not me.
No, I was like, that's not shooting tequila. That's like, you just can't handle your alcohol. That's not. So we went walking on the campus, and I finally just interrupted him. He's like preaching to me. I said, I want to do it. Did whatever this Christian thing is, I want to do it. He's like, what? He's like, well, I'm not done. I'm like, oh, listen. Then I started getting scared because I'd heard about the thief in the night rapture thing. This guy's going to disappear, and then I'm going to lose my head, and it's going to be a problem. And so he prayed with me, and he said, now you're saved. And I said, what does that even mean? And he said, it means you're whole again, spirit, soul, and body. And he had no idea I had an eating disorder. He had no idea I was lactose intolerant. He had no idea my entire world was broken. And I didn't tell him everything in that moment, but I said, so now that I'm a Christian, I can have cheese? And he was like, what? And I said, you just said.
It's like if you tithe, maybe.
Yeah. Well, no, he did not. He was like panicked. He was like panicked. He was like, I just barely got her saved. And so he had me like do a fill in the blank prayer where I just said, Jesus, thank you for healing me up. And then I said, lactose intolerance. And I felt this love come into my stomach and untie all the knots that had been there since I was 15. And I was completely healed. And then I went back to my dorm room, got the little way that they put in there, spent about an hour and a half looking for the book of Paul, because John said Paul said this and Paul said that. And I found that if any man be in Christ, are a new creation, old things have passed away, behold, all things have become new. And I realized that that's what had happened. And the next morning when I was making my bed, literally I heard the man you were with last night, that's your husband, I've called you to be a minister. And I thought, what? I mean, Catholic world. I'm like, a nun? Like, no, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, not that.
And we got married a year and a half later.
Hi, Hungary. I'm Dad. Said every dad ever. But this Father's Day, treat Dad like royalty with Good Ranchers. They are the #1 American meat delivery service, and they just launched their new King Cut box for Father's Day. The King Cut box is packed with the finest cuts of American meat that will make Dad's Day extra special. Full of thick cut bone-in ribeyes, center cut filet mignons, and thick cut bone-in New York strips, all sourced from local family farms and aged 21 days to perfection. I am getting so hungry just filming this. But buy one today before the sellout at goodranchers.com. The work of a father never ends though. So Good Ranchers is offering free bacon for life with any new subscription. Every new subscription that uses my code HEALTHY will receive 2 packs of Good Ranchers uncured Applewood smoked bacon with every order. And the best part of being subscribed is you won't just get free bacon this year, you'll get it the next year and every single year after that, y'all. This is huge. Okay, here's 3 steps to knock this Father's Day out of the park. Step 1, go to goodranchers.com, buy their brand new King Cut box for a dad you know, and subscribe to any of their custom curated boxes filled with 100% American beef, chicken, pork, or wild-caught seafood for yourself. Step 2, use my code HEALTHY at checkout to claim your free Applewood smoked bacon for life. And step 3, get free shipping on all your orders and make this Father's Day one to remember. If you need any other reason to support Good Ranchers, they're not only amazing partners of my show, but they also support Paralyzed Veterans of America too. This is so great. Every order saves American farms and supports American veterans. Change the way you buy meat today at goodranchers.com with my code HEALTHY to claim your free bacon for life. Make this Father's Day extra special with Good Ranchers, because this year dad deserves more than just dad jokes. Goodranchers.com, American meat delivered.
Were your friends just like, Lisa, what are you doing?
Yeah, did they think you were crazy?
Oh, yes. I went back to my sorority house, and they were like, what just happened? Like,
Wow.
Yeah, because I had been, and I was in charge of the initiation rituals. I was the marshal in the sorority, which is they basically elect you because you're mean. And so you're in charge of hazing all the freshmen and
my
all the
gosh.
secret initiations.
Now you're handing out Bibles.
Oh, that's a testimony.
Yeah, and I said, no, I'm not going to haze the freshmen. And I said, if you guys aren't happy with that, you can. I'll become the chaplain, but I'm not gonna abuse the freshmen. And I remember I would walk the halls and I would call my sorority sisters out of a kingdom of darkness into a kingdom of light. And they literally would knock on the doors of my room and say, we heard you used to be this and now you're that.
Wow.
What happened? Will you pray with us? And girls were getting saved. It was beautiful.
Wow, that's powerful. From hazing to holiness.
Yeah, there you go.
That should be your next
That's the
book.
So when did you and John get married? Like what's
Yeah.
the
So
what that look like?
so that would have been July of 1981, and we got married in October of 1982. Yeah.
Okay, wow. So I think I remember listening to previous sermons or podcasts, and you said that you did not feel prepared for marriage at all, and
Oh, gosh.
you would have redone it. Like, now looking back, because like the thing is, we have so many single girls on this podcast, and they ask me all the time, like, how do I prepare for marriage? How do I prepare myself for a healthy marriage now while I'm single? What would you have done looking back before you met John? Obviously, like, I know your testimony, but
Sure.
how could you prepare for marriage as a single woman?
I guess I would have adjusted my expectations. Like, I think getting married isn't about this person that's going to fix everything. I would have really focused more on getting whole myself. I would have dove deep into the whys of my life. And I did actually after we got married, because I realized there was stuff that was unaddressed in my life. I would have weighed my sexuality with more value. Like, I was very promiscuous. And I would have understood that is something, the intimacy, because we have a epidemic of sex and a famine of intimacy right now. They're actually saying this generation will have more sexual partners, but most of them virtual, than any
Wow.
other generation, and possibly no intimacy or children.
Wow.
I mean, there's just been something that's been robbed. And I would have gone to an older woman who actually I liked the way their marriage was. And I would have said, what are some things I need to do? Because coming from a broken family, I thought, okay, that's not what I want to do, but I didn't know what to do. And so seeing my husband as an ally is one thing. And then John and I, instead of attacking one another when there was a problem, putting the problem on one side of the table and we sit on the other side, because we're not the problem. That's the problem. Whether, you know, like I remember we were first married, there was some financial situation where I thought, you know, we were putting money into savings, and I found out, oops, no, we weren't, you know, and I was so mad. But instead of attacking John, I can't believe you, I trusted you, I thought you were doing this, you know, John would say, don't attack me, attack the problem, don't attack the character. So we would have fought for, and then I would have also been really clear about my strengths and my weaknesses and my dreams, and I would have written some things forward. Now, God worked with all of my things, and my husband, I mean, this is the beautiful thing. Number one, I love my husband more now, 42 years in. I am not tired of him. I am not tired of growing with him. I am not tired of even arguing with him, because even when we fight for. We don't fight against. And I didn't know, like, our family, we attacked each other. Like, we're Sicilian. I mean, so it was like, wow, like everybody just yells, and it's so traumatic. When I was growing up, I didn't even remember by the end of the day what our family was mad about. Like, what did I get in trouble for? I don't even remember. There was just so much shame and so much name calling. And so I would have learned how to communicate. We believe in writing our way forward. And that was something that John and I did right by accident. We used to sit in a Chinese restaurant, and we used to dream. When John was an engineer, and I don't know what I was doing at the time, job-wise, but we would just dream. We'd say, one day when we have kids, what is it going to look like?
Wow.
What do we want our house to look like? We want our house to be the house that everybody else's children wants to come to. Because I had an alcoholic father. I couldn't have my friends over. I didn't know what they were going to walk in on. So I had to say, we're going to invest in a ping pong table. We're not going to have fancy stuff. We're going to have comfortable stuff. We're going to serve pasta. What are we going to do with our kids? We're going to do allowances. I mean, we mapped out discipline. We mapped out allowances. We mapped out how we wanted our family to feel. We mapped out what you guys brought up at the beginning. Do we want to do it together, or do we want to do it separate? You know, what does that look like? We're big believers in writing your way forward and honoring God. And you guys may know the answer to this, but usually when I'm talking to a crowd, I'll say, why did God pick Abraham? I mean, Abraham's out there, He doesn't really even listen to him. He brings Lot when he wasn't supposed to bring Lot. He does a
Yeah.
couple of things. He's got a wife that's barren. Like, why? And Genesis chapter 18 says that God picked Abraham because he knew that Abraham would teach his children God's ways. And John and I, in all of our awkwardness, being first-generation Christians, we said, we will teach our children God's ways. And God was like, okay, did you hear them in that Chinese restaurant? You see that guy that has a mustache where he looks like an 80s porn star and his wife is wearing blue eyeshadow?
Mm-hmm.
I heard him. Just go ahead. We're going to go ahead. They want to make a covenant with me. And I think that we do not understand the fear of God. And if I was single, again, the one thing I missed from being single is I used to spend so much time in the Word and in God's presence. I could just turn on music, and I could just sing whenever I wanted to or dance whenever I wanted to. And, you know, when you get married, you're on somebody else's schedule.
Oh, yeah. It's so interesting because, like, we've only been married less than 4 months. And before he was in my house, every morning I would read the Bible. I'd have my worship music playing. I would just be there for like an hour.
Yeah.
And it'd just be
Now she
so
got my
undistracted.
dishes.
And now he comes tiptoeing in, banging the dishes. And I'm like, oh, I'm trying to have a quiet time.
That
So
sounded really sexist, what I just said. I said, now she has my dishes.
Oh,
I didn't mean
no,
it.
not
I
like
didn't mean
that.
it like that, but
no.
that's hilarious.
It's okay.
I was just going to say, I feel like this generation in some sense is lucky because they have no excuses for not having tools to better their marriage now. Like my parents, they got married, barely knew each other. They got married after 6 months of knowing each other. There was no podcasts and sermons and books, and even your generation probably didn't have nearly as many tools. But I almost feel like on the other side, there's more confusion now, and they don't know how to do this well with all the dating apps, and it's like almost gotten more toxic. And so I'm praying that this is a blessing because I really don't feel like people have an excuse. Like there's so many resources to help people better their life, their
Don't you think
marriage.
people are more selfish now than any other time?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Well, yeah, that's what's
people
been
always
preached out
have been
there.
selfish, but everybody is myself, my emotions, my
Yeah,
needs,
my
my
peace.
feelings.
Well,
that's
I
not
think
marriage.
I think the reason why is it's like before you would date in your community, that was really it, and your options. Now we have endless options. Like you
Yeah.
said, you can have a virtual wife, you can date whoever you want. You
Constantly, is this the best person?
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
person might be better.
You just keep swiping right until you find what you're looking for. And oh my gosh, I'm so thankful I'm not in that anymore. But there are so many girls that still are. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, because it is so confusing. But where would you say a girl, like if she's on her singleness journey, where should she find this godly man? Would you only say the house of God? Would you say let the Lord lead him to you? Should she be searching? Because
Tinder.
so many girls are like, should I go out there and seek him, or should I wait on God's timing?
Yeah.
What would you say to like that girl
Yeah.
that's single?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think all of those are options, but I think that they need to ask God. I mean, I think maybe one girl will find her husband in the house of God, and then somebody else might find a friend of a friend, or somebody else might
what we had.
find somebody at work. But I think that she should be pursuing God. And I know that sounds weird, but if you are looking for somebody to be something that only God can be for you, you're going to be looking for the right thing in the wrong place. And so I think if you can really center yourself, and I had to do that. You know, I had to sit down and say, Lisa, you've had unhealthy relationships with men. You had a dad who never approved, never good enough men that are hard to please, are hard to keep. And you will go for bad men. And then you will try to win them. So I had to say, Jesus, I pick terrible men. I trust you. John and I didn't date from the very first moment. He asked me to marry him, and I broke the engagement.
Wow.
Because I just was like, all of my life, I've been measured by whose daughter I was or who I was dating. And there was some other different stuff. And I said, I need to figure out who I am, who my identity is in God. Because too many people, their identity is, I'm single. Well, that's not an identity. That's just a stage. That's just your relational identity. Your identity is daughter of the Most High. And if you are not comfortable in daughter of the Most High, you're going to pick the wrong man. And so I do feel like identity is not woven into people to the place it needs to be, and then they compromise sexually, or they compromise. I mean, there's so many girls right now that feel like they're never going to get married.
A lot.
And so they just marry.
Or they settle because they're
That's
like,
what I'm
I'd
saying.
rather
They're
be
just
with
like-
him than be alone. And I'm like, this crusty, dusty man, like, I don't know about that.
Here's the thing. I don't know what we thought was going to happen when we emasculated men. And then thinking the men were going to feel like they could initiate relationships and marriage with women.
Yeah.
So there's a scripture in Jeremiah, and I remember when I was writing Godmother, it just so intrigued me. It says, God will do a new thing. It says a woman will encompass a man. And then another version of the same verse says, a woman will encompass a warrior. So when I went to all of the commentaries, it said it hasn't happened. Like nobody knows. That's like an enigma scripture. Like we've never seen a man, a warrior, be encompassed by a woman. And so I was really praying into it. And I felt like the Lord said, I'm going to raise up a generation of women who are going to begin to surround the men and say, pornography is not the end of your life.
Yeah.
I'm going to call forth a warrior. I'm going to remember that my anointing as a woman is to be the answer to the man. And I'm going to call forth the God thing in him. I'm going to surround him in prayer. I'm going to tell him I need him. I'm going to tell him I respect him. I'm going to speak to who he's becoming, not who he's been. And that in so many ways is even what John did for me. But women have this ability to see things. Like, you know, we just see it in the Bible. You've got Jacob and Esau. And Isaac's like, I love Esau. He brings me hunting meat. The mother's like, no. Rebecca's like, nope, it's not him. It's Jacob. And she knew. And women can see things that men miss, and men can see things that women miss. And that's why we need each other. But right now, my heart is to see women begin to bless men and to remember this beautiful multiplication that happens with male and female rather than just, girl boss.
Yeah, the division or the crapping on each other.
Oh.
Because, I mean, I think the thing that I'm
It's really
seeing
bad.
now is so many women have been hurt by really sucky men that have abused them or taken control over them or whatever, that they're like, I'll never trust a man. I think there's a lot of confusion in that. And I see it on TikTok all the time to where they can't even fathom the word submission. That makes them ick and cringe or like, oh, I would never submit to a man. And so how can you kind of like rephrase that thinking for someone that's maybe seen poor submission from maybe their dad or an ex or some guy they went on a date with? Because to them, they're like, I will never submit to a man if that's what submission looks like.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we know that submission, Jesus is the one that's supposed to be our model for that anyway. And John and I always divide submission into sub and mission. So you only submit to people you're on mission with. Like every woman is not under every man. And so we like submit to employers because we're on mission with them. We submit to our husbands because we're on mission with them. But submission does not mean that the woman is less. Submission means that the woman is necessary. God said there's incredible need. This man has need in her. If God had not meant for Eve to come out of Adam, he would have just left her in there. But God said, it's not right for him to be alone. Creation needs her voice and his voice. But submission has been abused. It's been abused by unhealthy men, but manipulation has been abused by unhealthy women. So like we have two fallen forms, broken people, one trying to oppress, the other one trying to manipulate. But submission, I mean, again, if marriage is two people bringing out the best in each other, I submit to John. When John says, Lisa, these girls need you. And I'm like, no, I can't. I have one eye and I'm scared of 15-year-olds. He's like, stop it. Stop it. I see the call of God on your life. You need to be everything God called you to be. You don't have the right to shrink back in fear. Submission was me actually stepping into a place of authority because my husband saw that gift of God on my life. And so I think a lot of times we do not understand that Jesus was given the name above all names because he submitted to the Father. So submission is supposed to be a place of safety, not a place of abuse or misuse. And I mean, for every young girl that's ever seen an unhealthy example of that, I'm so sorry. But let's just talk about what we're seeing in almost every single sitcom. it's sexualized women and dishonored men.
Yeah.
Men are mocked. And so what happens is when men oppress women and they're not born again, they react by taking their fallen form, by manipulating. So we've got all this stuff going on. So I'm believing that Christians are going to love each other well. And that the world is going to say, I see your union. I see the fruit of it. I see that you love each other. I see that you're not afraid of her wins and she's not afraid of your wins.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem. Like, it's not just the husband wins and the wife loses, or just the wife wins, but both people win.
What are a few qualities women should look for in a man to marry?
Integrity. Like my husband, he was so cute, nerdy, colorblind, but you know what? He was a man of integrity. He feared God. He kept his word. He didn't say one thing and live another. He was honest with me. And you can change the way somebody dresses. You can change the way they part their hair, but you cannot impart godliness into anybody. Yeah. It has to be something that is their pursuit. And guys that are really cute, that are not godly, become very unattractive pretty fast.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell Kaleb that's the biggest blessing that he gives me is when I leave, I know he's not going to go searching things online or looking up things, or like the biggest blessing he gives me is knowing that I can trust him with everything. Yeah. It doesn't mean he's perfect, but I know like I can trust this man with my life. And what a peace that gives me, because I know women that don't have that, and it's really disheartening. It really is.
Yeah.
It's hard because I'm around a lot of guys, and thankfully I was freed from pornography years ago, and so it's not something that I walked into my relationship with.
Yes.
What would you say to the girl who, I mean, the statistics are like most girls are walking with men who are addicted to pornography.
And a lot of women are too.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah. That was part of my story.
Can you be addicted to pornography in that season when you're still in a relationship and dating? Or would you say that, you know, they need to be freed from that before you can enter into something like that?
Well, I do think a lot of people believe the lie that, oh, once I get married, that will fix that.
Yeah.
And it won't.
Yeah.
It won't. Like my husband was addicted to pornography. Like it wasn't as available when John and I first got married as it is now. But John definitely has been very open about he had a struggle with pornography and masturbation. I don't know how old he was, 13, saw it, and was even encouraged in the Christian world, like, oh, it's okay. Once you get married, it'll be fine. And it wasn't fine. And I felt very betrayed by it. And I think a lot of women think it's their fault, like they're not attractive enough, thin enough, whatever it is. And no, it's not your fault. It's an insatiable thing that comes in to break down your intimacy. It is never really about intimacy. Yeah. It's always about lust. Yeah. And so I do think lust needs to be dealt with. For me, I had awakened my sexuality in the realm of lust. So I had to literally allow the Holy Spirit to put it back to sleep so that it could awaken back in the realm of love. Yeah, and Zephaniah 3:17 was such a key thing for me, where God was like, as you sing worship songs, I will sing over you, and I will put back to sleep what was awakened in the wrong manner in the wrong time. Because God never says sex is wrong. He just says, do not arouse or awaken love before it's time. And so when it awakens early, it awakens as lust. When it awakens in the right manner, it awakens as love. And it's been so sweet for me, for my boys, that all 4 of them were virgins when they got married. And I still remember one of them, calling me from their honeymoon and being like, this is amazing. And I was like, I'm just so thankful.
Yeah.
There was no shame.
Yeah.
No shame. No shame. No shame for them. No shame. And for us, there was shadow and shame. And I think masturbation brings shadow and shame. Pornography brings shadow and shame. And when you have shadow and shame or any breach in trust, it will always show up in your intimacy in your bedroom.
I can't believe we're married now, and no lie, but we do have
What?
We do have sex, but it is.
I hope so.
It's crazy that I traded that for. I was a virgin when we got married, but I really wasn't.
Because you can be a virgin physically and impure.
Yeah,
and then you can be probably like us, not virgins, but then have a pure heart. Like let God deal with something.
Yeah, I think what I found to be really cool is the Lord gives people new memories, because I think a lot of women have so much shame, or honestly anyone listening, if they've had a different path, that not, the straight and narrow path, but they kind of like me. I went off a little bit on the beaten path. And
I went on vacation on the beaten path.
I lived on the island. No, I'm kidding. I don't think I was that crazy, but
I'm glad. 'Cause I wish I wasn't. Hadn't been.
Yeah, I mean, same. I think that is something like I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but that is one thing that I can see and say, God, your way really is better. Like, I truly now understand being on the other side, your way is really better. And I think it's encouraging for girls to hear that maybe do have that past or that are currently walking through that, to know that the Lord can give you new memories and can wipe the slate clean and still redeem your marriage. And I also think it has to be dealt with in singleness, because exactly what you're saying.
You really should.
Do
not think
don't do it
is
in
gonna
marriage.
Fix it. Yeah.
Because I still feel like I hear this all the time. Like, I got married and I really thought marriage would fix blank, and it doesn't. And I mean, we've even had that.
It actually magnifies.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's just encouraging for even women to hear, like, even women with us, with our stories, like, knowing that God can still bring a godly, awesome marriage. And yes, it'll take some work and some healing, but if the Lord is in it, like, who can be against you, you know?
Yeah. And for me, I mean, I've had length of days where it's not just a redemptive story for me, but seeing my boys walk in a greater authority in the Spirit than John and I walked in. That legacy, saying, okay, like, I still remember, Janine, the first time our pastor, who did not know my past, called me and said, hey, I'd love you to talk to the high school girls about sex. I was like, maybe someone else should. Like, and I just had to hit my face and say, I can either redeem this or I can live in the shame on this. And I knew that God had set me free, and I knew I had a story. And I remember God saying to me so clearly, Lisa, there are so many young girls who have lost their virginity, but that doesn't mean they can't recover their virtue.
Wow.
And he said, your virtue is more powerful. And some girls have had it taken from them. Some girls have been sexually molested. And I've even seen, and this is crazy, I've even seen girls getting healed in my meetings of STIs or STDs.
Wow.
Just God taking all that guilt and just healing them just from Psalm 103. I mean, literally, just God blessing and healing. And so God wants to wash away our shame and give us a new beginning. He wants to remove us from nightmares, and he wants to plant us in a dream. And marriage is still one of the most powerful ways for us to be transformed and to grow into more of the likeness of who God created us to be.
If you are looking for a new Father's Day gift, maybe a gift for yourself, maybe a gift for your mom, truly just anybody, or maybe you just want to do a little treat myself, okay, check out Caraway. If you love to cook like me, then definitely check them out. Caraway's internet famous kitchenware is a staple for any home and comes in various modern shades to fit with any design aesthetic. So you guys, ditch the chemicals with Caraway. Caraway Home's non-toxic kitchenware features a chemical-free ceramic coating so food can be prepared with peace of mind that no hard to pronounce chemicals will be leaching into your healthy ingredients. Who wants that? Also, they have something very exciting. So they are doing Caraway Month, which is 4 weeks filled with fun deals and surprises that will keep you on the edge of your kitchen stool all June long. They are dropping hot new deals every Monday in June. So keep your eyes peeled and your cabinets ready. Okay, so if you guys are like, okay, why should I do this? So over 65,000 people have rated 5 stars about Caraway Kitchen. And also they have a ceramic naturally slick surface, which means minimal oil or butter for slide off the pan eggs and easy cleaning. And one more reminder that Caraway Month is on. Caraway's dropping limited time offers every Monday in June. Blink and you just might miss it. You guys, you don't want to miss it. Plus, if you visit carawayhome.com/healthy, you can take an additional 10% off your next purchase. This deal is exclusive for my listeners. So visit carawayhome.com/healthy or use code HEALTHY at checkout. Caraway, non-toxic cookware made modern.
Amen.
You said remove nightmares. I get the worst night terrors at least twice a week. Once or twice a week, I wake up.
He needs deliverance.
And I'm like,
You might
screaming.
So
Yeah.
I was having terrifying nightmares, and I took myself through a prayer. We actually have the prayer online. I had generational curses following me. I had no idea. I'd had cancer. My mom had cancer. My grandmother had cancer. I mean, like, all this stuff. And in my dream, it was 3 different dead men, different stages following me. And there was a reoccurring nightmare. And I did fasting and praying. in communion and renounce certain things. And to be honest with you, I just felt this awareness that I could be the beginning of 1,000 generations who loved God and kept his commandments. You know, and you've come from brokenness and disappointment, and whenever I've come from brokenness and disappointment, you doubt yourself, but God is just always looking for one generation to say, I believe. I can believe I can be like Josiah.
So good.
That I can say I'm going to be the beginning of 1,000 generations who love God and keep his commandments, that the blessing of God will be set into motion because I'm going to choose life, not just for me, but for my descendants. And that's what we did before we even had kids. John was like, good, but I was like, I got to deal with my family crazy.
Yeah.
So literally we have that prayer on our website and in our marriage book. That is free
I gotta
online.
look that up, baby.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you feel like you've seen so much healing in your life because of marriage? Because for me specifically, I couldn't sleep when I was single. My sleeping is healed. I sleep like a baby
Your
now that I'm
stomach
married.
as well.
I had chronic IBS.
No.
I didn't probably, I mean, this is like, if we're getting real, I had to take laxatives
Getting
probably once a week for like a few years just because my stomach would not work. Since we got married, like, it's so crazy. I am regular for the first time since I was 18 years old.
Well, you do know love is healing.
It's crazy.
I love
Yeah,
healing.
but you do know love is healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. No, I am probably wired like you. When my parents would fight, I would swallow all the pain. And then my stomach would start hurting. And I think, why is my stomach hurting? And then,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I want to talk about that because before we started this podcast, you guys both shared you've come from divorced parents.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people have that. Like, were you scared to get married because of that? Were your
Yes.
parents... Let's talk about that because I think a lot of people have fears or trauma or I do not want my parents' marriage. Let's just open about that because I think a lot of people were like, nope, not getting married. If that's what my parents' marriage is like, not repeating that. How can someone remove these fears from their past and enter into marriage not scared or heal from that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this right in the front. Fear is a horrible counselor. So you do not want to do anything to avoid something. I mean, you have to say, what do I want to build? And going back to what I said earlier, like, we sat down and we said, what do we want our marriage to look like? And we want to be more in love. We want to enjoy time together. We don't want to just survive each other. Because John's family stayed together, but I didn't see a lot of joy. Like, I didn't see his parents, like, playing with each other or laughing together. And, I mean, John and I, we're still, like, we have to remember that we're in our 60s because we still are very playful with each other. We still enjoy each other. We watch things. We joke around. We have fun. We enjoy each other. But it takes work. And one of the things that I felt was, number one, my parents' past is not my future. I am not going to bring all of their fears and all of their mistakes into my future. I had to forgive my dad because I was making my husband pay for my own dad's mistakes. I was kind of like, oh, all men leave eventually. And so I remember, I think I was married to John like 8 years, and John said, how come whenever we're hugging, you start patting me and then push me away? And I'm like, because I don't know. And he said, I'm not your dad. He said, I don't know how long we have to be married before you realize I'm not going to leave you. And he said, maybe we'll be 70 and you'll look over at me and say, you're still here. He said, but we're going to miss a lot of fun in the in-between. And I thought, that is not fair. I do not want him to pay for my dad's decisions and brokenness and my parents' brokenness. I said, God, okay, I need to forgive my dad. I need to forgive my mom. I need to write my way forward. I need to not talk bad about my husband. I don't know what happens. Like, I would go out with my girlfriends and they all would just be like, oh, and then my husband did this, and then my husband did that. And you almost feel like you have to put like a card on the table too, like, well.
My husband too.
Yeah. And then I'd go out happy and come back mad at my husband. And I thought, I wouldn't like my husband going out with his friends and talking bad about wives. Why am I doing this? So I had to guard what I heard, guard what I said, and just remember, this is my best friend, even if he doesn't feel like it right now, and be really careful about who I confided in. Who I asked for advice from.
Good. Oh my gosh, that's so huge.
Because you can go to
So
your
crazy.
friend and you're mad at Kaleb and you're like, oh, Kaleb, and then you guys make up, but your friend's still mad at Kaleb because she
Yeah.
likes you. You have to go to people that love both of you.
Absolutely. That is so good.
That's so good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I had a question following up on that. So you were saying that marriage is hard.
With
and
hard work.
Hard work.
Yeah.
But I do think there is this notion that so many people think marriage is hard, so therefore I'm just not going to do it.
Single's harder.
And
It's way
yeah.
harder.
I mean, how can you give this hope to people that think marriage is hard or they're newlyweds, because we're newlyweds? I don't think marriage is that hard, honestly. I think if you marry the right person, it shouldn't be that hard.
Well, I think you've got the right standard in between the two of you. Like if you're married and you say, we believe what the word of God says, we want to honor God, both of you. I think it's hard when Caleb is like, I want to honor God. And she's like, no, I don't want to honor God. I want to do whatever I want. That's going to feel very different.
Yeah. How can people, because now you've been married 42 years.
Yeah.
How does this generation stay married?
I feel like it's God honoring. It's God honoring. And marriage is not a contract between two people.
Yeah.
It's a covenant between three. God is the one who makes us one. And when we stand before God, he does something magnificent where he takes two people and he makes them one. And it's interesting, a contract shrinks your movements, but a covenant expands your life. And so I just think too many people look at marriage as a contract instead of as a covenant. And a contract always has an out clause. You can always find a way out. But a covenant, you're like, we're stuck. And I don't mean that mean.
Yeah.
Like, we're either going to build a beautiful marriage together.
Yeah.
It's like if you're remodeling a house, you're going to either keep doing the work to make it a beautiful, or you're going to just live in a nightmare.
What's like a hot take of like our marriage is successful, and it would be like a little controversy, like if you like were speaking at like a church, like do you have like something that you're like, every couple should do this and this will keep your marriage to like last longer?
I do think that sexual intimacy is very important. And I think it's so funny, like before you get married, you're like, we can't wait. And then after you're married, you're like, well, probably not you guys, you're 4 months, but you know, people start having kids.
Ain't no problem.
Or, yeah. People start having kids, or life gets busy.
You get tired.
And I think too many people do not realize, especially women, they dishonor their husbands because men are wired different. You know, like I'd be like, just cuddle me and I'm great. My husband's like, I like cuddling.
Give me some more.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that we don't ever shame that portion of our marriage. Our hot take is we have something called the 5-minute rule. This is our 5-minute rule. If I'm tired and I'm like, okay, I don't say no. I say, I give you 5 minutes. If you can get me in the mood, you can have me.
Ooh.
And it's like a challenge.
So we
Stop that.
should do the 5-second rule, like the food thing.
Stop.
I like that though.
Yeah, so
That's good.
So and then then at least my husband knows I want to try. We're trying, you know, and then talk.
Yeah.
Because our sexuality and our intimacy, it falls apart when there's things we aren't saying to each other. So
You got to talk the sheesh. When I say talk the sheesh, I don't mean gossip, but I mean there is nothing better. When she goes on a girls' night or whatever, I get so excited for her to get back home.
Come home and we,
because
like,
she's just
sit
gonna be like,
down.
okay, so what do you think about blah blah blah? And I'm like, I get so excited. And there's a lot of couples who don't do that. They don't talk. There's sometimes I'm talking to my buddies and I'm like, I just assume they would tell their wife, and they don't. And I'm like, oh no, I tell my wife everything.
John tells me everything
Yeah.
that he
Yeah.
remembers. He does, sometimes he forgets. But like if people tell me, like, Lisa, I want to tell you, but I don't want you to tell John. I mean, unless it's something like they're pregnant.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, don't
do
no,
that.
we're
Yeah.
one. Just don't tell me.
Yeah.
Because I process things with my husband.
Yeah.
And I remember we went to a church that was pretty interesting. They had elders, and they would elect the elders. And if a husband was elected, they also put the wife on. And if the wife was elected, they put the husband on, because they said they're going to process it together
Yeah.
anyway. So we want them to have the good
No
information.
middleman.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
cool.
thought that was
That's
very
so
interesting.
funny.
Yeah, divorced. My parents did split up. It is something that is such a interesting thing, and I came into it with our marriage where, like, even through dating, I was like, "You're gonna hurt me. There's no way," and I would almost self-sabotage before or negatively interpret every little thing. And I had to come to a point in my life where it's just like, you know what? This is all I can put my best foot forward, but if she does my worst nightmare, it's gonna.
I still gave my all.
I gave my all.
Because I
Yeah.
used to give John half.
Yeah.
And think if I give him half and he leaves,
Yeah.
I leave with half. But it's better to give all
Yeah.
and not wonder why.
Exactly.
Like maybe if I'd ever given it all.
Yeah. Almost every pastor that I've had, besides the one I have currently, has ended up cheating on his wife. Everyone. It's really impacted the way I view God.
Yeah.
It's impacted the way I view church. It's the way I view
Yeah.
really, like, I look at every influential leader as a man, and I'm like, dude, you probably cheat on your wife. That's my first
like you're
thought.
like waiting for them to fail, right?
Yeah, and so that's like almost made me, I hate how cynical it's made me.
Yeah.
And-
And I do feel like Addison and I, my oldest son and I, we were having this discussion because, again, you know, it's like every month, like, oh, there we go. Like somebody
Yeah.
else, you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were talking, and Addison said, Mom, I don't understand how they make these decisions in secret and then they're okay, like in public, and they think, okay, I just got up. I said, unfortunately, your father and I have been way too close to a number of these. And I said, every single one of them have told us that they felt really bad about what happened the first time. Let's say first time. They felt horrible. They were broken about it. They cried out to God. Then they preached the best sermon they've ever preached in their life. And they don't make the equation that the brokenness is what preached the best sermon. They think, oh, I play by different rules. They forget that the anointing is for the people. It's never the validation of the minister. And as soon as a minister begins to think the anointing of God is theirs to manipulate or to validate, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, and listen, I mean, John and I have same story. Our pastors broken covenants in their marriages. And that really shook us up, probably even more than my parents getting divorced.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do men finish the race? How do, especially your husband,
Yeah.
and you have a big platform.
Yeah.
How does he, I mean, he has an audience. I'm sure he has women.
We made some phone calls. When the one in 2006 happened, we made some phone calls and we called some people and we asked that very question.
Wow.
We said, we never thought this would happen. We never thought this person would make these decisions. What makes us think we can be safe? Why do we think that we could escape this? And the person said to us, you're going to need some organic relationships, people that want nothing from you.
Wow.
And they need to be people who will ask you the questions you don't want to answer and tell you the things you don't want to hear. And this is how far our board goes. When our kids lived in our house, our boards would fly in the day before the board meeting, and they would meet with our children. And they would say, how are your parents getting along?
Wow.
They say they're doing this. What do you see at the office? What do you see at home? And they would get in our business, and they made John and I, we have to speak to a marriage counselor, like the Spirit-filled marriage counselor. We actually put him on our app because we know not everybody can have access to it. We have to speak to him multiple times a year.
It's amazing.
And he is in our face. He's in our oldest son and his wife's. I mean, like, he is in our world.
Yeah.
And because you have to be intentional.
Accountability there is
Yes.
amazing.
When you think that you're impervious to these kind of things,
No.
that's when you become, and it's not that you live in fear.
No.
You just put guardrails in. I do believe that the best testimony isn't a restoration, but a life well lived. And I think
Absolutely.
like we don't celebrate the life well lived enough.
We always
Totally.
we always celebrate the
Restoration.
prodigal son.
Yeah.
And
Or like, yeah, because I feel like I have a lot of girls that come to me and they're like, I don't have a testimony. Like, can God use me? I'm like, you're living
John used to say
proof.
that. John used to say that.
Yeah, my sister, she'd always be like, I don't have a testimony like you, Janine. And I'm like, you're proof that following God's ways gives you a blessed life. Like, you don't have the scars or the regret or the shame that I carry that God's healed me from. But like,
Sure.
she has this.
You've redeemed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm like, that is your testimony to show you that God's ways are good and he protected you from so much pain. So, yeah, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I think I just want to commend you guys. So crazy we're sitting here today because I have been following your husband since I was in high school. It's a huge part of my story in a lot of different ways. And it's just so cool to sit here, 6-7 years later and go, man, he's not that if he were to fall that he's going to hell or anything, but it's just cool
I
to
would kill
see.
him. So
Yeah.
there
You would
be-
kill him. Yes,
yeah,
I could
he'd go
tell.
to heaven quickly.
Yeah.
But it's so encouraging to see
Yeah.
that there are leaders, because I mean we think this all the time. We're in the same space where we're seeing people post one thing and then do another, and then you're just like, who can I trust really? Like,
No,
who is going to finish this race well? And so I just say thank you for being
No,
that.
and I mean, and we're still very intentional about that. But again, my husband holds my feet to the fire, and I hold his feet to the fire, and we do that because we do want to finish well. And to be honest with you, I feel like our children have done it better than us. So I look at my sons, and they've done it better than John and I, and I want my grandkids to do it better than their parents have. And again, every generation that owns their mistakes, that mistake no longer owns them. And One of the things our boys said to us, they said, Mom and Dad, the thing that always made us feel safe was when you made mistakes, you confessed it. You said, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have talked like that. I shouldn't have done that. Dad would send emails in the middle of the night. And they said, perfect is always a lie. But somebody who wants to grow and has enough humility to own when they mess up makes us feel safe.
Yeah.
Oh, amen.
So.
Okay, so something I've been wanting to ask you guys is how do you guys balance this crazy life that you guys have? Because, he's traveling here, you're traveling there, you're both authors, speakers, pastors. I mean, you're doing so much. How do you guys...
We're not pastors. If we were pastors, we'd be insane.
I would say, okay, maybe you're more like in ministry where you're
Yeah.
ministering to people and you guys speak together and you speak separately and you're traveling. And how do you guys keep your marriage, A, healthy within that, and then B, just balance this lifestyle where you guys see each other consistently and you're not gone for too long? And like, what does that look like? Bring us into that.
Yeah. So I approve John's travel schedule and he approves mine.
So cool.
So I cannot accept any speaking engagements unless, so when I get invited, I say yes, and then he looks at it, and then he either says yes or no. And we eat dinner together every single night as a family. When my kids were growing up, and now as a couple, like we eat a meal together. We sit down, and eating dinner as a family is a big deal for Italians. Like that's just what we do.
Yeah.
And it forms a relationship. I mean, that's just what we don't do a lot of other things. Like we aren't out doing a bunch of stuff. When we're home. When we're gone, we're gone. And our family plays games together and does things together. So somebody asked my boys, Alec, how did your parents raise children that love God and love them? And Alex said, they spanked us and they played cards with us. And so I was like, what was that? But we ate dinner and then we sat at the table and we played. And I guess that is not as normal as
It's not.
I thought. And I was always, I was there for my boys. And John was there for the boys, and they were always first priority. And John did have a season where he probably traveled too much. And I remember sitting at the dinner table, and he told all the boys, I need to ask you to forgive me. And they're like, for what? He said, it became easier to travel than to be home. And he said, there was a season where I needed to pioneer, but then I kept going because that was easier than being at home. Will you forgive me? And I feel like that's part of the reason we have length of days with our boys. We still work with our boys.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's important to me that the supplements I take are of the highest quality, and that's why for the past year I've been drinking AG1. Now, unlike many supplements, AG1 is researched and developed by an in-house team of scientists, doctors, and nutritionists with decades of experience in their respective fields. So y'all, you can know that this is backed up. So many people have asked me if AG1 is the real deal, and trust me, it is the reason why I've been drinking it for so long. Quality for AG1 is not just a buzzword, it is a commitment backed by expert-led scientific research, high-quality ingredients, industry-leading manufacturing, and rigorous testing. At each step of the process, AG1 goes above and beyond industry standards. Now, I know I can trust what's in every scoop of AG1 because they obsess over product quality, the standards of manufacturing partners, and sustainable practices. So taking care of my health shouldn't be complicated, and AG1 simplifies this by literally, you guys, covering all my nutritional bases and setting myself up for success in just 60 seconds, making it so that there aren't a million different pills and capsules to keep track of. Just one scoop of AG1 mixed in water every single day. AG1's ingredients are heavily researched for efficacy and quality, and I love that every scoop also includes folate, magnesium, and ashwagandha for stress support. So y'all, no stress around here. No, none of that. So if you want to replace your multivitamin and more, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription at drinkag1.com/healthy. That's drinkag1.com/healthy. Check it out, you guys. And if you've ever wondered if it tastes good, take my word, it tastes really, really good. So definitely, you guys, check this out.
How do you guys have a public following, you guys are known. How do you protect your relationship, not knowing who's coming in for ulterior motives? Is that a conversation you had with your kids of like, hey, our life looks a little different and it's going to come with some different challenges? Like, what discernment did you guys use?
You're saying like maybe people pursue my kids because of
yeah.
Or just the public opinions that I'm sure you guys get,
Yeah, my people are pretty mean. People mostly like John.
Yeah.
I just think it's more that women's thing, like women aren't allowed to speak, and it's the highest form of evil or highest form of rebellion, or even if you're at a women's meeting and you post it and a man can see it, then you're corrupting the church. I mean, it's so complicated.
Wow.
So I get a lot of that. I don't know.
It's not something you guys thought about ever? You just kind of lived your life and then...
I just don't think our life fosters it. We're not inaccessible, but we're not pastors.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're out and then we come back. And then we're out and then we come back. And then we're out and then we come back. And so the people that might want something from us are out. They're not when we come back.
Yeah.
And, and a couple of times, we've had people that, employees or whatever, that they worked with us because they wanted to be us. And the truth is, if they can learn from us and they are propagating the gospel,
so be it.
yeah.
Gosh.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, that's
exactly.
real.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really
I was more wondering just in general how you guys manage two powerful people, because
We have the same scheduling person.
that's impressive.
So she knows. She'll be like, hey, if you say this, say yes to this for John, it means you guys won't see each other for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so we're like, oh, no, we need to talk. So we have somebody who loves both of us, who has both of our calendars, and we sit down, and we rarely say no to each other unless it means we're saying no to time with each other.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So John does his thing. I do my thing. He does his writing. He does his prep. He's a morning person like you. I could stay up till midnight and get more done at night
We
person.
could be best friends.
Yeah. I was 42 years. And John was like, you'll change. I'm like, I have gotten up every single morning at 6:15 and I'm still better at night.
Yes, same.
So, we have our different rhythms. We respect each other's differences. And it's just work for us. And, sometimes the churches I go to aren't the churches John goes to.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are.
Yeah.
But pretty much he's more alone and I'm more alone. And we occasionally do things together.
I think what I've always admired about your marriage is that he never suppressed you. Like, he always uplifted you.
Yeah.
And let you speak and let
He's
you
been
write
my
it.
biggest advocate.
Absolutely. And I feel like women need to hear that.
He didn't even let me.
Not do that, right?
He made me. He made me. Do you know how I got my first book contract?
No.
So I always would edit John's books.
Wow.
And I would come to the meeting with the publishers because I was his editor. And like he was done with his book. It was Beta Satan. He's done with it. The publisher said, would Lisa ever write a book? And he said, I think you should ask her. And he said, but don't have me in the room. And so they called me and they said, hey, can we meet with you? And I thought they were going to meet with me about something else. And they said, there's a book in you. And if you will write it, we'll publish it. And I said, okay. Every woman is anointed to edit her husband. Every woman's like, you need to say it different, say it like this. And I said, no, that does not mean I have a book. And they said, we think there is. And so my very first book, he was the advocate behind it.
Wow.
He really was.
Go, John.
Yeah.
I love that.
He's been my biggest cheerleader. He's nicer to my daughter-in-laws than he is to my sons.
Good
he
for
really
him.
is.
Good
he
for
really
him.
is.
Man, that's what it looks like to have a good husband that is full of humility and just, I don't know, it uplifts his woman. Like, he's not there to be like, no, I'm the leader. I need to have all the power.
No,
Like,
I don't want to act like he's never act like that. But
Yeah.
that would be a grumpy, tired John.
yeah.
Not John. the
Why
real
why
person.
are men like that? Because I know so many women in marriages and in dating, or they are trying to find a man, and they just don't seem to want to champion their wife at all. Is it
Again,
insecurity?
Insecurity?
I think it's a scarcity mindset.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
they think if I am championing her, then no one is championing me. Again, like our family is super competitive. And I remember when the boys started being able to beat John in sports, John was not happy
Oh,
about
he was
it.
getting to work.
Yeah, and we had to say a win for Addison is a win for you. A win for Alec is a win for you. We had to specifically say that because at first he was like, they're replacing me. How are they beating me? So again, I think it's the breakdown, the battle of the sexes. We're not supposed to be enemies. We're supposed to be allies. And different people win in different seasons. Yeah. Like if a wife is staying home and taking care of the kids, or her husband can work over here, she's just as integral as he is. But of course, he's going to get more accolades than she is. But if they are biblically minded, they understand that David said, he who goes to war and he who stays home and guards the supplies gets the same reward. And so you have to have that mindset. But I do think men have been brutalized. And I do think women have been
Yeah.
realized. I think the enemy is just like, I hate anything that's in the image of God. So I hate male and I hate female, which is why I have the t-shirt on that says the future is male and female.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
I will say, I feel like in my own space, since I've been doing this for, 12 years, people
longer than I've
don't
been
like
alive.
a man coming in. Like they want it just to be girl boss. And so when a man comes in, they're like, no, like get out. Like they want to like get rid of the guy. Don't give him any accolades.
That's dishonoring.
No
of
applause.
God's creation on the man.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen like, oh, he's mooching off of her. He's this or he's that. And I'm like, I can't do this well. I cannot do this excellent without this person, without my husband. And I think people need to hear that the two are better than one. Like that's why God wired us that way. But a lot of people want to be independent. And I feel like there's no way I could go nearly as far without this man in my life.
Yeah.
So I think people need to hear that.
There's interdependent, codependent, and independent. And God, when you're married, you're interdependent. And I just think too many people, like even there's been years in our marriage where I made more money than John. Not many, but there's been years in the past, in the early parts of our marriage, where I made more money and he never felt threatened by that. Because why? Because it's not my money or his money, it's our money.
Yeah.
So as soon as it's our money, it's our household, it's our blessing. People don't understand oneness if they're thinking that.
Wow.
That's so good.
I have been loving this
has been
podcast.
great.
It's been so amazing. I loved
like one of our
talking about
longer
marriage.
ones.
I know.
You're just so wise. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
made so many mistakes.
Before we end, do you have any more questions?
I was just gonna speak into you. Like this has been the best podcast we've done in the form of like another guest.
Oh my gosh,
you
yeah.
are incredible. It's always hard to interview somebody, and like you've made this like so easy.
She's
for
been interviewing us. It's been good.
and this has been real fun.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you for your wisdom.
Well, I feel like we're in a battle right now, and the most powerful things the Christian can do is flourish. And so I want to see your marriage flourish. I want to see your relationship flourish. I want to see your ministries flourish. So
Amen.
I'm honored to speak.
And
into it.
marriage is such a representation of Christ in the church. And I think that's why we need to like form healthy marriages, healthy relationships, because we will change the world. Hopefully our relationships will change the world. So
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, before we close out, I have some fun questions for you that I just want to ask you, and feel free to skip if you don't want. Okay, so what is the most annoying question people ask you all the time?
The most annoying question. Can I pick your brain?
Yeah.
I think
Really?
Oh, I thought you literally were asking.
Caleb was like, yeah, pick it.
I was like, pick
I'm
my
always
brain.
like, no, you cannot.
Don't pick it.
No,
I hate that
need-
term too.
I need all of it, and then I'll even ask them, "Have you read any of my books?" No. Then no. We're not even having a conversation.
Okay, I like that.
That's so funny.
What is one thing you wish people noticed about you or asked you about?
I feel like people ask me about everything. Noticed about me or asked me about. Okay, I can say one that people I wish they would notice more and ask me about is I had no idea how complex a relationship between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law is. I feel like that's such a breach, and I wish more people would ask me how to navigate that, because I have found so much joy with my daughter-in-laws. And I
Wow.
wish other mother-in-laws would have that.
Okay, I'm gonna have to pick your brain about that. I'm kidding.
Regina, you're awesome.
I love that. Okay, what is something you would rate 10 out of 10?
Oh,
Besides
pesto.
John.
Pesto.
That Italian
right away,
side.
Right away. Pesto.
I
love
tried to make
pesto.
us pesto pasta the other day, and he was like, I don't want pesto.
I'm a pesto guy.
Look,
Well,
Lisa
you
said
know what?
10 out of
But
10.
you're Italian, so you can.
Yeah,
do you make
maybe
it with
they're
your
not
hands?
making it right.
Do you make it organic, like from
Yes.
from the cow?
Oh, we need
From
that.
the cow.
Where's pesto come from?
It's herbs.
Oh,
He's over here thinking you have to milk a cow.
pesto
for this.
sounds dairy. I
No,
don't know.
pesto is green. It's like a pesto
Oh.
pesto
Yeah,
pasta.
I like
Okay.
pesto.
Yeah. I think pesto, like, you can put on anything and it makes me happy.
I love
I don't
that.
know why. Maybe I'm hungry. I don't know why I thought of that. But
Yeah, I'm pretty hungry too.
I got
yeah.
one question.
Or my grandkids. Any of my grandkids would also be a
Okay,
10.
what's your question?
Who's your favorite pastor?
Who's my favorite pastor?
You can't say Francis Chan because that's mine.
I can say whatever I want.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, she pushed back.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know if he's a pastor, but I love N.T. Wright.
And
Oh, I don't think I know who that is.
He's a theologian.
Norman T. Wright?
No, N.T. Wright. He is in Oxford. He is a
Wait.
scholar,
Yeah.
teacher. I love his
What's his
Gentleman.
book? What book did he
He's
write?
got it like 15. One
What's
of his
his most-
books I really liked was Surprised by the Scriptures.
Okay.
But
Cool.
he has commentaries. And, you know, as far as pastors, I'm going to say my husband, but he's not really a pastor. But
All right, least favorite? No, I'm kidding.
Okay. How do you relax after a long day?
I love to read.
Okay.
And I love to work in the yard.
Oh, you're a gardener.
And I love to ride a bike.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
gardening is my least favorite thing. I
Yeah.
can't do it.
Yeah.
Are you like a big bath lady? baths, wine.
No.
She was so confused when you
No.
asked that.
She's
Yeah.
like, what?
Like, I have a bathtub. The only people that use my bathtub are my grandkids.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I just a little bit quicker.
okay.
Yeah.
I think those are all of our questions.
Last question: how long should we wait before we have a baby?
Ooh.
He's trying to convince
Yeah.
me.
You know what? I have one regret about my kids, and I wish I would have had more.
Wow.
five.
Yeah. And I have 4.
I'm one
I
of
have
7
4.
kids, so I grew up
Yeah.
with a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
So where I was like, I'm never having 7 kids, but maybe the Lord will change my mind on that.
I was 26 when I had my first one.
Okay, so I'm about to be 30 in
Yeah.
2 weeks. So I should probably get on that, huh?
So I have 9 grandkids, and I love that I am a high energy grandmother.
Come on.
Oh,
I'm not like, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah.
My back hurts. Or and my grandkids, they come running down to my house. They want to hang out with me.
I love that.
Like, so I just put in a bunch of raised beds, and my granddaughters came over, and the people that did it said pools, and my granddaughters thought I had a pool in my backyard. So they're like, gee, Mama's got a pool. And I'm like, it's magic. And they're like, what do you mean it's magic? I said, it's not a pool, it's magic. They're like, what is it? And I'm like, they're like, that's dirt. I'm like, dirt is magic.
Yeah, just take it.
Because I'll grow. I like to make pesto out of arugula.
You
need
really
to come
like
over.
pesto.
I do. My grandkids, that's what they asked for their birthday dinners.
pesto?
We want G Mamas. They call me G Mama. We want G Mama's pesto pasta.
I have to try this now.
I know.
We'll see you tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming over.
Maybe you've had bad pesto.
Okay, Lisa, thank you so much.
This was so fun.
This is amazing. I'm having
This
so
was
much
so fun.
fun. Just let my followers know where they can find you. Are you speaking anywhere soon that they can come and listen?
So
Okay.
I am doing something.
They can
but
follow
I
you
can't
on
remember-
socials.
Yeah, I think Instagram is the best place.
Okay.
I don't interact with anything but Instagram. I
Okay.
feel like people are too
Yeah.
angry on X and
TikTok,
then
they
I-
are mean. Well, Lisa,
Thank
thank
you
you,
so
thank
much.
you.
On
This
that
has been
note-
so
we
amazing.
were out already. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're good.
That genuinely was blessed me. I think that just like blessed our
Oh my
marriage
gosh,
so much.
absolutely. Yeah, you guys go follow Lisa. Go check out her books. You can listen to any of her sermons. And I was listening to your sermons this morning, and they're so amazing. And so links will be down below.
If you're a girl, most of you are girls, and you have a boyfriend who's slacking and he's not doing what he needs to be doing, look up John Bevere, look up every sermon, and just spam it to your boyfriend because it blessed me, it blessed my life. And or send it to the guy you want to date and say, hey, this is who you have to be. So
Amen.
on that note,
We love it. All right.
love it.
That's a wrap. Thank you so much, Lisa.
So that was our episode today with Lisa Bevere. I told you guys, she is amazing. Do you guys get what I'm saying now where I'm like, holy moly, she is a rock star and a powerhouse for the Lord. And I just learned from her so much. I look up to her so much and I just think she's amazing. And I think her whole family is amazing. So if you guys love today's episode, comment down below, comment what you love from it, and share it on Instagram if it blessed you. Feel free to send me any DMs and any feedback that you guys have. But I love you guys. Definitely make sure you enter the giveaway. Check out our Patreon. It is linked down below. And you can follow all my social media as well down below. I will see you guys again for another episode of Happy and Healthy next Tuesday. But until then, stay happy and healthy. Bye, guys.